October afternoon in the Midwest. We are officially moving into fall and winter. It's been pretty warm here the last few days, and today is the start of a chilly chapter. I am en route presently on my way from Kansas, where I live now, up into Nebraska. I am attending a 4-day gathering that I am very curious about. There's a few themes I want to talk about in this video, and synchronicity is one of them. I often talk about this as following the breadcrumbs, watching for little signs and things that pull our attention, that beckon us, that call us towards on our journey through life. This gathering came into my reality in one of these very synchronistic, breadcrumby kind of ways. It was a happenstance, coincidence. I was traveling and I met somebody else on that travel, on that journey. We had about a 20-minute conversation, but it was one of those scenarios where you just immediately click with somebody. I'm all about the depth, I'm all about spirituality, I'm all about really getting into the nuances of the human experience, and that's right where we just immediately hit the road running. And within 5 minutes of my conversation with this person, who I was traveling on the West Coast, I was on the West Coast of the country. This person I met is from the East Coast of the country. I believe she lives in Connecticut. And within 5 minutes of our conversation, she was like, oh my gosh, there's this gathering happening in Nebraska that you have to go to. So that was how this gathering came into my reality. She's the only person I know there. It is more of an elite spiritual event, so I am interested to see what the vibe is like. I have had the opportunity to attend several gatherings at this point, but they've all been radical fairy gatherings. They've all been queer gatherings out on the west coast of California. This is the first time I'm attending a non-queer specific gathering. This is the first time I'm attending a gathering in the Midwest. This is not the first time I'm stepping into a gathering without knowing anybody. That's how I stepped into radical fairy space. I didn't know anybody who was there. And this one feels a little bit more intimidating to me, I think, because it's going to be outside of my comfort zone in some ways. The fact that it's not queer specific, the fact that it is a bit more of a wealthy gathering than what I'm used to. There are going to be musicians performing and artists performing. Deepak Chopra is coming to give a little talk. We're going to have a lot of breakout sessions, being able to hear from some really influential leaders in not just the spiritual movement, but mindfulness and somatics and healing and just all of these experiences that bring us deeper in touch with our human spirit. That's really what spirituality is a contact with our human spirit, is a connection with our own soul, with our sense of what it means for us to be here and what our life purpose is and why we even exist. So I have been really excited about this gathering. It's one of those, again, it was a very synchronistic, breadcrumby type of moment where I knew as soon as she said that, I was like, okay, well, I live in Kansas. I'm 4 hours away from where this gathering is taking place. I need to go. This is coming into my reality for a reason. So there's a part of me that's really excited. There's other synchronicities happening. We're having a new moon eclipse, starting eclipse season at this gathering. I'm having my North Node return at the same time. That is aligned with those eclipses. So I can see, I can sense, I can feel that this experience is connected to these other lessons and places I find myself right now in my journey of where am I called to be right now? What lessons am I learning? What growth edges am I stretching? What parts of myself am I becoming closer in contact with and therefore healing more of as a result of letting myself follow those callings? Whew, now I'm getting hot, so I need to air it out a little bit. Speaking always makes me a little warm. It is also a really tender time for me right now. There's been a lot of change. There's been some loss. There's been some deepening with and getting to know wounded parts of myself that date back to childhood. I'm coming to terms with the depths of my sensitivity in new ways, which I've been talking about in some videos and will continue talking about. I'm opening up questions for myself of how I align with the autistic experience. So there's been a lot of tender parts of myself that I'm uncovering and excavating and exploring, and that feels really good. And there's power in knowing those parts of ourselves, even when they are like tender, sensitive, ouchy spots in some ways. And yet it is also intense and it's hard, and I have put myself and my nervous system and my emotional experience just through so much turmoil these last several years of like ripping out away from my hometown and venturing out and really giving myself fully to the callings of my spirit and the uncertainty of the open road. So as I'm going into this gathering, part of me is really excited and enthused and like, what is going to happen? What's this going to be like? Who am I going to meet? What doors is this going to open? Even if they're just internal doors deeper within myself. And on the other hand, I have felt nervous and anxious, and I am shy, and I tend to be more introverted, and it's overwhelming for me to be in large group spaces. And this is going to be a gathering of like 300 people again. I know one person who's attending who I spoke with for 20 minutes on the West Coast. So at the same time, I've had some, not hesitancy, because I knew that I wanted to do this regardless of how uncomfortable I was feeling, but I've had some fear. I've had some emotion come up in response about being able to handle it, about being able to protect myself. I've had some reminders this year of what happens to my health and my nervous system when I'm not standing up and protecting myself and setting boundaries and giving myself what I need and sort of just like radically accepting my needs regardless of what the people around me might think or judgments they might hold about those needs that I have. And so I know this gathering is also going to be challenging for me. I know it's going to be triggering for me. I know it's going to be an opportunity for me to really stand up for myself and self-advocate and notice my body, how I'm feeling around other people, giving myself that radical permission to do what I need to do for myself, even if it means that I'm missing out on something I wanted to join in on, or missing out on an opportunity to connect with somebody on a deeper level, or even if it means that I'm opening myself up to judgment and people not understanding what I'm doing and what I need and why. There's a lot of woundedness in that for me, which is probably true for a lot of folks who watch this channel. There's a lot of woundedness in the experience of growing up being so sensitive and then receiving other people's judgments as a result of that. So a lot of those triggers are like deep childhood triggers, and those are not fun to navigate always. But this also has me thinking of the bigger theme of medicine. And I feel like that is really what is culminating as an overall theme for like this video, and is sort of like a mindset that I'm bringing myself into as I prepare to enter this space for the next 4 days. I know that there's medicine in the expansiveness part of it. I know that there's medicine in the excitement of being able to just experiment and being able to meet people who are also different in their own unique ways, and be able to be in shared space together that is celebrating creativity and artistry and reconnection to nature and earth and healing and wholeness and you know, the connectiveness, that thread of connection that exists between all of us, that is part of the human experience, that is part of just the experience of being an alive being on earth. There's a thread of connection that brings us all together, and it's really beautiful. It is medicine. It's been incredibly healing for me to be able to be in gathering and community spaces where other people are aware of that connection too, and we're focused on, you know, building it and feeling it and feeling the ways that we're connected, and feeling the ways that we're collaborative, and feeling the ways that, you know, part of me is part of you, and vice versa. Feeling that like lack of separation that truly exists between at least our inner experiences, at least our pureness as a being, as a human with a soul, a spirit and a body. So there's medicine in the beauty, there's medicine in connection, there's medicine in community. Somebody I lived with on the land project that I was living at last year in California, the Radical Fairy Land Project, used to say community is immunity. And I think that's really true, because it is through community connections that we can truly find ourselves, that we can find welcoming, that we can find acceptance. It has been really hard for me to find that in one-on-one connections at times. I am learning how to navigate friendships and what that looks like as a sensitive, shy, and possibly autistic person. But historically, friendships have been challenging for me, because very often I can feel limited, or it can activate triggers within me that I don't know how to bring into the relationship dynamic. I think friends and like one-on-one connections is so important, And it can also be really challenging. Sometimes, there's this emphasis on like being similar and being the same that ends up capping out someone's capacity for growth and expansion. We can kind of keep ourselves small by trying to continue fitting in with the people that we've become accustomed to fitting in with, and being somebody who changes a lot, and especially over these last, 5-7 years, who has changed almost everything about myself. There can be a challenge in maintaining my one-on-one relationships when they are expecting me to be the same person and I'm no longer the same person. And sometimes that creates tension, and sometimes that means that like one is outgrowing the other. And there's nothing wrong with any of these things. It's just part of like the nature of being alive. But for me, myself, given my history, given my interpersonal struggles, given things about my experience and myself that I'm still navigating and figuring out, it has just been an area where it can be complicated, where there can be struggle and pain and tension, and sometimes the emotional intensity of that and the triggers that can come up for me, sometimes that like overrides my capacity to navigate in the way that I want to. And that's the healing journey. That's like part of the lesson that my soul, that I'm here to learn in this lifetime. But the beauty of community has truly been medicine to me, because it has been an opportunity for me to practice really being radically authentic and learning how to meet my needs and how to balance those needs and balance myself with other people. A community space can hold a lot more expansiveness than like a one-on-one relational dynamic. A community space can hold growth, it can hold conflict, it can hold acceptance and diversity in ways that are broader than what is possible between just two individual people. So there's a lot of medicine in community space, and I think it's going to be healing for me in a way to be attending a gathering that's not just a queer gathering, because I need some healing around heteronormativity, and I need some healing in my relationships with cisgender people. I need a lot of healing in my relationships with cisgender women in particular. And so I know that there's medicine. Oh my gosh, I'm having such a weird deja vu moment right now that just like is confirming to me the synchronicity of what I'm saying even more. Like I know that there's medicine in community. I know that there's medicine waiting for me in this community experience. The other part about medicine is that sometimes medicine is bitter, and sometimes medicine has to be bitter, and sometimes medicine doesn't feel good and isn't what we want, and is still what we need. And so I know that there, just as much as there's medicine for me in like the purity and the joy and the play and the creativity and like the energetic forces that get activated when people come together around common values and common visions for the future. And I know there's medicine waiting in the triggers. I know there's medicine in the discomfort that I feel. And even like the couple days leading up to this trip when I was like, oh, I don't want to go. Like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave my cat. I don't want to leave my house. Like, can I just stay here and be comfortable? But that is not how it works. And that is not the medicine I need. The medicine I need is not going to be found in my comfort zone. The medicine I need is going to be found from stretching my comfort zone. And part of that is inherently calling for discomfort, is inherently calling for something that isn't going to feel good. And for me, there's an inherent calling towards having enough experiences showing me what I don't want so that I can find the strength and I can find the capacity and the ability to do what I do want, to choose what I do want, to choose what I do need. So there's medicine in being put in spaces where I have to stand up and assert my boundaries. There's medicine even in the times when I have needed to do that and haven't done that because it's teaching me something. I feel like we learn the most from contrasts we don't like. We learn the most from mistakes. We learn the most from our failures. And that's not a medicine we like. That's not a medicine that feels good. That's a medicine that can be really painful and emotional. But even our emotional reactiveness to failure, to mistakes, to something not going the way we wanted it to go, even that medicine is necessary. It's teaching us what we need to know in order to choose differently, in order to meet our needs better, in order to be able to prioritize ourselves more. For me, it's a lot about being able to choose myself, choose my individuality over choosing fitting in with a group. There's medicine in the opportunity to build trust and resilience and like confidence in ourselves and knowing that we can push beyond our comfort zones. that we can do the things that we feel called to do, even if and when they also really scare us. And I know a big part of my medicinal opportunity going into this gathering container is in building trust with myself, that I won't override my internal experience, that I will honor my internal experience. For sensitive people, I think that's a common one, because growing up in this world, we have to stifle, we have to suffocate, we cannot honor our sensory experience. What we feel matters a whole lot less than what we do and what action we're taking in this culture, in this society. So the medicine for me is in healing that, is in showing up for myself and doing for myself what I needed the world to do for me as a child. The medicine for me is knowing that I can take these big leaps of faith and do the things that my adventurous spirit is calling me to do that fucking terrify me. And this gathering is an example of that. It's a stepping stone for me. It's an opportunity the universe is providing me to do something I want to do that scares me, that is going to push me to honor my limits and my boundaries and rest in my knowledge of self. And again, show up for myself in ways that the world did not show up for me, in ways that the world will not show up for me. Can I show up for myself? Can I meet my own needs? Can I honor and value my internal experience more than my fears and my feelings about letting down the people around me? Because if I can do that, I can enter a whole lot of spaces and I can go to a whole lot of places knowing that everything I have is within me, knowing that I have got my back. And that matters more than anybody else out there having my back for me. So as scary as it is for me to be entering a gathering space in a random podunk small town in Nebraska with 300 strangers, I know it's an opportunity to build my strength. I know it is medicine that the universe is offering me, that I can choose to take or I can choose not to take. But if I choose to take it, work with it, learn from it, grow from it, it's going to serve me well going forward. I mean, that's what medicine is, right? It's like an investment in our future selves. It's an investment in giving myself what I need now, even if it doesn't taste very good in the moment. So I know my future self, the person, the part of me that carries forward, is going to be stronger, healthier, more capable of doing what I feel called to do, what I'm here to do in the world. So those are some of the thoughts, reflections, and tensions I'm having and setting as I am entering whatever this change container is going to be like for me. I know I'm going to come out on the other side of this weekend as a new version of myself. And while that can be scary, and change and uncertainty can be very scary, loss of control can be very scary, there's also so much power and empowerment and wisdom and experience and opportunity that can come when we go with it, when we follow the path, when we accept the medicine, when we open and embrace the journey. So I am wishing all of you well on whatever journeys of life you may be navigating right now, whatever medicine the universe is offering to you. I hope some of it is sweet, and I hope the bitterness is just enough to give you what you need. All right, much love to all of you, and I will certainly be sharing more as the journey unfolds, and looking forward to connecting again in the future. Bye-bye.